I know that you take a balanced position on all of these things. First of all, does what Aftabuddin Mollah say, does this inspire confidence that the Congress is running, as Rahul Gandhi says, a muhabbat ki dukan? First, let's go to the most basic questions. I won't complicate matters for you.
I don't even know who this Abdul guy is until I heard of him today on your show. Any random person comes and says something and it's quoted to Rahul Gandhi, and that's fair. And no, please, and that's fair. I agree. That's your right. But the Honorable Prime Minister, I filed a complaint, said Shamshan Kabristan. The Honorable Prime Minister campaigning in Uttar Pradesh in 2017 said trains got derailed because Pakistani people involved with Pakistan were derailing trains, and I had to counter him. The Honorable Prime Minister said dangayo ko kapdon se pehchana jata hai. Whoever this Abdul guy is, I have no idea. I'm hearing of him for the first time. I promise you that. Is this equivalent to what the Prime Minister says? I'm asking you, and I leave it for your viewers.
I just want to first acquaint you with this gentleman. He was sworn in to the Assam Assembly. He's a member of the Legislative Assembly, sir. He was voted by a large number of ordinary Indians that Mr. Robert Vadra once described as Aam Admi in a banana republic. It certainly must take people living in a banana republic to put a man like this in the Legislative Assembly. But that apart, one shouldn't stand in contempt of the choice of the voter. So I can't fault the voter, I must actually fault this gentleman who belongs to the Congress, but you have very quickly disowned a man who took oath on the Constitution of India.
I'm not disowning him.
That Indira Gandhi secularized viewers, if you please.
I'm not disowning
him. So if that person is betraying the legacy of Indira Gandhi, who secularized our Constitution, because as we know, viewers, in 1947, it wasn't a secular document, according to her. It took another 35 years for her to realize that we didn't have a secular constitution. That constitution framed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, signed off by others, and then obviously presided over, gifted to this nation by the Prime Minister, Nehru himself. To think that Nehru would have gone along with a communal constitution. But then maybe, I don't know. So Dr. Ranganathan, how do we address this? Now, the Prime Minister says that this is all...
Gandhi said on the secular part. May I just correct you at one line and then Dr. Ranganathan just one line?
Yeah.
Actually, Mrs. Gandhi never said the constitution was not secular. In fact, the word secular was precisely added and upheld by a full bench of the Honorable Supreme Court because the constitution reflected secularism, therefore it was reflected in the preamble.
Before that it wasn't secular, right?
But why
the constitution was not... No, hang on. Before 76 it wasn't... Was the constitution... Excuse me. Was the constitution in spirit and letter secular before that date? Yes or no?
Absolutely secular. That's what the government said in the Supreme Court.
So then, why the virtue signaling?
What is the problem?
Anyhow, the point is...
But why don't you pick on the word socialist? Why do you only take the word secular?
It should be removed.
Two words put.
The word socialist should also be removed. In fact, let me tell you, my dear, that the word socialist was also discussed by Dr. B.R. Ambedkar.
Correct.
Right to the last letter. And he says we should not tie ourselves up in knots by proclaiming what we must become. We should leave that to future generations. And let me tell you, 1 minute, the father of Dr. Manu Singhvi, the great L.M. Singhvi, asked Haath Jod ke Indira Gandhi not to use that word, not to shove it into the constitution. Anyhow, that's a whole longer discussion. But Tehseen Poonawalla, maybe you don't realize all of this, maybe it's escaped your attention, I don't know. But Dr. Ranganathan, it certainly wouldn't have escaped yours. I want to ask you, has the Mohabbat mask slipped or was it never there?
The Mohabbat mask was never there. It's just a question of the acknowledgement by people who've witnessed what Congress has done over the past 75 years. Are they open and frank enough to publicly say what I am saying? That the Congress is philosophically, is politically, is both contemporary and historically, and more damagingly, viscerally anti-Hindu. I repeat, the Congress is viscerally anti-Hindu. And I am not going to say this just and leave it at that. I want to give you 3 or 4 examples of each domain. This is not about what Tehseen says, somebody is a prominent leader, somebody is not a prominent leader. Tehseen himself knows being my younger brother, that there are many prominent Congress leaders who've made rabid anti-Hindu statements. There was a Goa MLA who was arrested for saying Lord Parashuram was a rapist. Routinely, Congress spokespersons and youth Congress leaders have made Gaumutra jibes. Who did Rahul meet during the Bharat Jodo Yatra? George Punaya, who made rabidly anti-Hindu statements. There are so many. I have a long list of this. But that's what the leaders say. Yes, there are leaders who say anti-religious statements from every party. So to buttress my argument, I need to move a bit beyond and see what Congress has done viscerally, constitutionally and legally to be called anti-Hindu. And here, for paucity of time, just 2 or 3 things. One, contemporary. As soon as Congress takes back Karnataka, you have wild celebrations of Tipu Jayanti. Tipu was a mass murderer, Hindu hater, who destroyed not only temples but also churches, converted lakhs of Hindus, even dead Hindus of Coorg were converted, who by his own manifesto said that the annihilation of the infidels is a sacred duty and I will follow it. So it's celebrating all those people just to humiliate Hindus. Number 2, and this is where people don't understand, that when 26/11 happened, Congress wasn't just satisfied in condemning what has happened. It wanted to put that blame on a Hindu organization. And had Kasab not been caught alive by the legend, the Inspector Omble,
Yes.
Congress would have run away with this theory. That this whole thing was perpetrated by Hindu organization RSS. Number 3, and here I come to the real damaging visceral part. The 2 most blatantly Hindu-phobic or anti-Hindu policies and acts that have been enacted since independence have been done by Congress. I talk here of the Waqf Act 1995 that you also alluded to, and the Places of Worship Act 1991. Nothing can be more anti-Hindu than those where you are denying Hindus the legitimate right, Rahul, to even approach the courts to demand their demolished temples back. How in a democracy this can happen, that yes, the courts may decree that you may or may not have that temple back. At least in a democracy, a person must be allowed to go to the court. So here are 5 or 6 examples that I have given that prove that Congress is viscerally anti-Hindu.
You see, that's the reason why. One second, that's the reason why. Just 1 second, Tehseen Poonawalla, I'll come back to you. We are not running away. I never run away from a debate. I am not part of the cancel culture brigade.
I know, Tehseen, what you're going to say. I know, and I have a response to that as well.
You know, I'll tell you something.
I also have a response to the response you have to mine.
Okay, 1 second. I'll bring you in. No problems. I'll never deny you that opportunity. You see, viewers, I said in my introduction tonight, and I think I anticipated what the others would say.
My profuse apologies. I forgot Congress was about to bring the communal violence bill.
That's right.
Whereas whatever happened,
which was
Hindu majority would have been responsible.
Anyhow, one second. I'll come to you. Tehseen, you'll get all the and in fact, you know, we also have with us Mr. Kamru Chaudhary, who's from Assam. So he will at least know this particular leader. But nonetheless, now I began by saying, while it is true that some BJP and Sangh leaders, senior ones at that, have crossed the line in the past, the Gandhi-led grand old party is no shrinking violet when it comes to either aligning itself here and there.
Yeah.
So viewers, in the hurly-burly of Indian politics, things are said by the Congress, by the BJP, by their tallest leaders. Some then go for benediction to temples out of the blue or whatever else. But the point is, viewers, it matters what you do when you're in power, when you have the levers. You see, the Prime Minister constantly comes out and says that, judge me what I do in office. Have I brought out any policy that discriminates against any one particular sect? And that's what he says, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. The Congress, when it was in power, and that's why I chose these examples, because these are irrefutable. Fine, we started with Mahatma Gandhi because I knew that people will, like Rahul Gandhi did, point to Mahatma Gandhi and say, we trace our genealogy, ideological genealogy from his mind. Well, that's why I brought in the Mopla massacre. And there are several other examples. I didn't want to really go into it because, as you know, viewers, we're all sensitive about the Mahatma, and I understand that. So I don't want to go into it. But there are so many examples. But I want to bring in the venerable, Tehseen Poonawalla, make your point, and then I want to bring in venerable
very
Mr.
quickly,
Chaudhary. He's waited, and
to all
America Narayanan, and of course, Dushyant
very
Sridhar.
quickly, and I apologize to all my fellow panelists for taking up this time. But to quote selectively, see, Dr. Ranganathan is a great friend of mine, my older brother. He looks also elder than me, and he's also a scientist. But he quotes selectively from data. The same Kripa Shankar Singh ji, who endorsed Pakistan, was involved in RSS was involved in 2611, is the tallest leader of the BJP in Mumbai. The same RK Singh ji who says there's some terrorists today.
It's not right. Tehsil,
It's
not right.
But no,
when I asked you, when I asked
Please,
you, will you condemn this Mr. Mollah? What did you say? I haven't heard of him. He's an insignificant guy. But Modi is to blame.
Yes.
No, I'm not
be
saying
consistent.
That.
We are not.
Please allow me.
And
please give me my time.
Can I take a minute,
Please,
Tehsin?
please allow me.
Tehsin, I got the thrust of your argument.
To be fair,
let him finish. Let him finish. Otherwise,
I totally agree with you. If you think that there are two legislations brought in by the Congress, supported by the BJP by walking out of Parliament because it's not a majority government, I'm talking about POW Act, why hasn't the great Prime Minister Modi, the Virat Prime Minister of our country, not remove those acts? I'll tell you why.
Because I'll tell you why, sir. Because there'll be riots in this country, there will be people on the streets, and there will be people like you who will say, a great crime has been committed, an act of great communal violence, like you said when the CA was brought in, which is now in the cold storage. Like you in fact even said when the 3 farm laws were brought in, that it was an assault, communal assault on one particular community. That's the problem with our country.
So the Prime Minister...
But Tehsin, you had more than your...
Yeah, now Tehsin, please. Look, yes, let the others also come in. Tehsin, please, I request you, sir, please. I request you. You made your point, we've understood. You're saying they also did it, so we can also do it, but they didn't do it when they were in office. That's what I'm trying to say.